Hi, welcome to Bake to the Future, the show where we examine what is happening in the baking industry with a future-focused lens. I'm Haley Blumenreich.
And I'm Katie Jewell.
Today, we have the honor of talking with ABA member Gold Crust Baking Company. Gold Crust is based in Maryland, right near the ABA headquarters, and they're a family-owned baking manufacturer that uses 100% green energy through solar and wind energy.
And that's super interesting. And I'm excited to chat with Gold Crust about the driving factors behind their sustainability initiatives, any obstacles encountered along the way, and any advice to other bakers who might be thinking about doing the same.
And we've got Alan Lyubinsky, Chief Financial Officer at Gold Crust Baking Company, here with us in the virtual studio. Welcome, Alan.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Before we dive into the conversation, our exciting and special kickoff question we always like to ask is, what is your favorite baked good?
At this point, it's these little clusters we do. They're brioche clusters. They're absolutely delicious. So you can have hamburgers with them, chicken, tuna fish salad, chicken salad, pretty much everything. Peanut butter, I could just keep going.
You said a brioche cluster?
Uh-huh.
How is that different than a normal brioche?
Well, it's still a brioche, so the recipe is the same. It's just a cluster. There's 12 of them. They're like attached to one another, and they're like mini. So if you're going to have like a party and you wanted like mini hamburger buns, it's what it is. They stay together and they're a little fresher that way.
Oh.
And it's clearly responsible for the extra 30, 40 pounds I put on.
Well, I'm sure you can't just have one. If they're coming in like a bunch, you have to at least eat more than one at a time.
Yes. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think they just got picked up by Sam's to go national. So if you guys want to, not to plug it, but I think it's going to be at Sam's, 24 per pack.
Excellent. Where I'm in DC, where in DC could I find these clusters besides just going up to see you guys?
So sure. All the restaurants buy them too. And then specifically, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to look at the list, but a lot of people, it's a very popular item. And then it will be carried in all the Sam's by where they sell hamburgers. There's going to be a brand stand right there.
We heard it here first. So that's exciting.
There it is.
All right, good. So as we get into the conversation, before we start talking about sustainability initiatives with your company, I'm wondering if we could back up and get a little bit of history about Gold Crust. You guys are a newer member of ABA, and so we haven't really got a chance to know you yet, and this is a good opportunity to do that. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe walk us through the background and history of Gold Crust as a family-owned bakery, maybe your journey with Gold Crust.
Of course. So around 1956 or 57, the Christou family came here to the United States, specifically Syracuse, New York, from Greece. And it was a father with three sons. And they opened up a bakery eventually in Syracuse, New York. And it used to be known as New York Bakery. And then my father-in-law, who was Paul Christou, ended up retiring. And his kids, who I'm married to his daughter, Nevsika, now Lyubinsky, used to be Nevsika Christou, we moved to Washington. And as he retired, he drove his wife crazy because he's one of those guys that needs to do something. So he was breaking things just to fix them. So they eventually started coming down here, and Nevsika and her brother, Chris Christou, and their father, Paul, decided to open up a bakery again and get him out of retirement. And they did that at 501 East Monroe Avenue. And they bought a building, 10,000 square foot building, and they opened up a bakery. They thought this area needed New York style breads, and they were correct. And soon they outgrew the space. They picked up Five Guys as one of their main customers. Probably at that time was the main customer, and they grew with them. And Five Guys, and in the beginning, this is a great story. In the beginning, Five Guys used to FedEx some of their buns because nothing's frozen for Five Guys, and we used to FedEx it for them. They would pay for that, of course. And then over time, my father-in-law helped Five Guys go around the country and open up regional bakeries. So little by little, we grew. We outgrew that building, and we bought this building that we're sitting in right here. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of sustainability. But when we bought this building in 2010, we moved in. So at that point, the bakery was operating for 10 years. And then 10 years later, 2010, I should have said they opened up a business in 2000. But anyways, 2010, they moved into this building here. And I joined my family to kind of go on this wild ride. And it's been great. It's been great. And we've been growing little by little. You know, obviously COVID was a big challenge for us, but we're coming out. We never closed, and we kept everybody. And we're getting through it, and things are looking better. So I don't know if that helps, but
yeah. And so you married in to the bakery then. So I mean,
well, I can even brag and say I'm responsible for them to be in DC, because I took the daughter away from the parents. They are originally from Syracuse, but really Skaneateles, New York is where they went to high school.
Yes, I went to grad school at Syracuse, so I know exactly where Skaneateles is.
So yeah, they didn't suffer, right? In Skaneateles, they had a pretty good life.
Yeah, no, that's a very, they always call that a Tony Hamlet.
I know. I always joke around with her. I'm like, oh, life must have been tough. Was it hard? Was it the polo fields or the private airport or the yacht club where the danger was? And she always laughs at that. But anyways, I took her out of Skaneateles and we came to came to Washington, D.C. And after a while, the father came and and her brother, Chris, came. And when they were living here, they decided to do exactly what I said. 2000, they opened up at 501 East Monroe Avenue.
So can you give us a sense of the products that you all make? It sounds like some brioche buns, maybe hamburger buns. What else?
We make bread and rolls, and we make a ton of them. And we always say we're pretty focused because we don't do sweets. We just make bread and rolls. We probably have 200 different products, 45 unique doughs. So we're not that focused, but we do breads and rolls. And we can do all the artisan breads, and we can do flat breads, and we can do traditional pan breads. And we kept the European tradition of baking, where we still do poulish and tanks like as starters. We use tanks because they're sophisticated, but the process is the old process of using starters. And then we also use, we have retarder boxes. We have two of the largest retarder boxes. So usually the modern bakeries, most of them skip that process, where they do not do starters as much, and they definitely skip retarders. And the bread is in the bakery hours versus days. In our case, all the artisan products are inside the bakery, because either in the form of a starter or in the form of it being retarded to its size before it's being baked, it's here at least a couple days. Not very streamlined from that perspective, but that's where you get all your natural taste.
Right. Yeah. You get it. The benefits are that it has that kind of home feel to it.
Correct. For those products, we have special ovens for that, where everything's baked on the hearth. And then we have your traditional tunnel ovens. So we could supply someone like Sam's nationally. You know, we have 3 tunnel ovens, 4 technically, because we have one for flatbread. But we have a 120-foot oven, we have a 90-foot oven, and we have an 88-foot oven. All tunnel ovens for pan-type products, buns and rolls, and breads. And then we have a 12-deck heart. This is where I get in trouble. I'm a finance guy. I try to explain everything. So we have a 12-deck hearth oven with like a little robotics that put things in and out. It's really cool.
That's awesome. Katie and I really should have made the trip up to see this in person, and obviously maybe try some samples. But
you're always welcome. Doors open.
Consider it done.
Yeah.
Yes, and I will make sure you'll come out with some products that unfortunately will give you a little wait.
I'm excited. But I think this is a good transition. You know, you're talking about scale. You're talking about ovens. So I think this is a good way to transition to talking about your green energy practices and how you can how you've incorporated these practices into the bakery. Can you maybe give us an overview of what you're currently doing, and then we'll back up and find out how you got there?
So I have to tell you, we were in position to do it, and not everyone's. You know, it's kind of it's hard to go backwards and retrofit an existing bakery. You know, we had the original bakery we had when we moved here. We needed a bigger bakery because we wanted to do business with large customers. So we had to be SQF certified. We had to have everything in. We had to go to a different level, which we did. And once we were here and we were building it out, it was a really good time to say, hey, what do you guys think about sustainability and doing it right if we're in position to do it? And we took that chance. So we have a 100,000 square foot building. And if you were to go to YouTube and just put in one word, Gold us. The installer filmed 5 of his projects, and we just happened to come up first. So you would see the install. So you'd see our roof with all the solar panels. At the time, I believe we were the largest brad manufacturer install in the United States when we did it. Probably, God, it's like 9 years ago, 8, 9 years. No, it's more than that. It's 9 years ago. Yeah. I keep forgetting it's 2023. So
sorry, just to understand. So you all moved in this facility in 2010, you said. So you moved in first, and then like after kind of settling in, you're like, okay, let's install some.
We operated parallel. We never closed the other facility. So we had that 3, 4, 5 months transition where we operated both facilities. Okay. And then we moved here and we set up the new equipment that we purchased. Like if you think of highways, like we set up one highway.
Okay.
All right. And then once it was here, we started producing some of those highway things here. And then we started moving other equipment. The new equipment came, and then eventually we moved some of the old equipment into here. And then we left the 501 East Monroe Avenue space, and we rented out to, you probably know who they are, Emmy Swings. They are coffee roasters. They used to have a location by IMF and next to the World Bank, and now at our old building.
Cool. So, why do you think you all were the first baking manufacturing facility to take this leap and to make it happen?
So I want to correct. We're not the first. We were the largest.
Oh, sorry. The largest at the time. Sure, but still.
We were told we were like brad manufacturer. We were the largest install. We did it because we're conscious about sustainability. We definitely wanted to do the right thing. We were in position to do the right thing. We could see the trends where they were going. So it was strategic as well. And it happened to fall in place for all of us, and we took advantage of it. So we hired this firm. They came in, they installed all the panels. We didn't pay for that install. I think it was $3 to $4 million. We signed a 20-year lease with them at a certain rate with a certain escalation over the next 20 years. And the onus is on them to upkeep the panels to make sure they're working so they can generate revenue for them. That's their rate of return on their investment.
And you're a numbers guy, right? So I'd like to hear from, the number guy perspective, what has been that return on investment? I mean, you don't have to give me like specific numbers, but certainly it's good for the planet, but I'd imagine it's also been pretty good for the bottom line.
Well, no, actually it costs us more money. So 2 things. So solar panel technology doesn't generate enough revenue from this roof. I mean, enough kWs from this roof to satisfy our demand at 100%. So about 1/3 of our power comes from generation on top. The rest we buy from a wind farm. And, we produce more in the summer because sun hours are longer. And then we produce less in the winter. So whatever the balance is, we buy from the wind farm. On the wind farm, we pay about 1 penny more per kW hour than you would otherwise. So there's that green tax, if you will. So roughly 2/3 of my power here is more expensive than the market. The other side, we did a pretty good rate at the time, and then we did a decent escalation. So that side of the business, the generation side, we did okay. So it does cost you money. Now, how do you pay for what's the return on this? Well, besides feeling good about doing the right thing, it's really like becoming important to a lot of vendors. We thought it would be quicker from the customer perspective, I should say, not vendors. From the customer perspective, we thought it would be quicker for them to demand or ask for green energy solutions. But it's taken a little time, but it's really gaining momentum now. So we're happy we did it in 2010. We did it prematurely, financially speaking. So if I was just very objective, I'll tell you it cost us money versus us making money on it. But we've done the right thing. It's here. It's operating. It's worked. There's other limitations because when you put it on a roof, and often bakeries put new equipment in. So when you're penetrating the roof, that ends up being an extra expense to moving things around and reconnecting them. So there's some real negatives, but like I said, I believe in the future you'll be able to do business in an area where others are not going to be considered.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that, especially because it's a baking facility, you've encountered more obstacles, perhaps because of the large equipment and things like that. But in the end, it's worth it, because in the long run, it's what is kind of the more sustainable, for lack of a better word.
And it
model.
sounds like the customers are demanding it too.
Well, they're beginning to, like someone like Walmart wants a percentage of their customers to be 100%, suppliers to be 100% green, or some kind of a percentage that's pretty high. So we're there. We've done it. We understand how to operate within it. It's really cool. It definitely makes us feel good. It makes our children brag about it, which is not often, but it's definitely great.
That counts for a lot.
Yeah, no, emotionally for sure. But what's cool about it is when we do tell the customers now, hey, we're green. We don't say we just became green. We're like, oh, we've been operating since like 2012 or 11, whenever we installed it. And like real stats is, we like our solar panels generate roughly 1 million kWh hours a year. It's like 2.4 million, I think, pounds of CO2 saved for the planet. So those kind of facts are cool. We haven't taken full advantage of it because we've never had a label out in a grocery store with our name on it, because we've always co-packed. We're a commercial bakery, so somebody else puts their label once they get our things, or it's being sold to the end customer via a restaurant or a hotel or places like Five Guys, which you do not see our label. It's really their label. We are going to put a label forward. My wife's working on that as we speak. And then I think we will get an opportunity from our perspective to kind of put it on the label.
So I'm wondering, that's a big next step. Changing labels is always a whole to do. But I'm wondering, kind of, you guys are in this space now. Are you looking at other areas to then help make the business even more green than it already is? Looking at things like inks and packaging and, sourcing ingredients, or,
Sure.
Are there any other areas that you're looking at?
Yeah, we'd love that too. It's hard coming out of COVID, right? So we're like very trying to grow the business oriented right now because, a lot of our customers were closed down. So it was just a really tough period, and it's not over yet. And most bakeries will tell you that's the case. Bakeries that did business with grocery stores did really, really well. We always thought that was kind of a hard business. So we were into the restaurants and like what was really cool in the food products, and trying to do like really high quality food service products. And during COVID, we realized we should have really been kind of like our portfolio. You have to buy bonds and stocks. And, we didn't. So we're better at that right now, and that's where we're going. We're balancing everything. But with the brand that I just mentioned, that will be part of it. And then you'll start reaping rewards from that. Customers are asking for it, and customers are becoming smarter about the ingredients. We have clean labels, so we're sourcing from those kind of folks. And if they happen to be green, that would obviously be something we'd be interested as well. Because we often say we don't use corn syrup in our products. We use honey or brown sugar. We're more natural type of bakeries. Not to say that we can't operate for anyone's under the recipe if there's a requirement. But we try to do the right thing, both the way we source and the way we built this building. Like the cement in our floor is recycled. The entire bakery outside walls is wrapped in the special materials, so it doesn't omit or go through. And then this way we do not have to, there's no painting. Paint doesn't chip and go into the product. But all those investments were made originally to make sure that we did not omit. So even though bread smells nice, when you come to our bakery, you can barely smell anything. You really wouldn't know, but just because it smells nice, it doesn't mean you're not omitting. So we're really trying to capture as much as we can. And like lighting inside here is all LED. So everything I just mentioned cost extra versus the alternative, especially at the time. And we jumped on a lot of these energies earlier, so it cost more, if that makes sense. Because, technology gets cheaper.
Yeah, I definitely see how that, but at the same time, I'm sure that it's worth it that you invested in it earlier so that you have things established already, as opposed to, as you said, like retrofitting is so much harder
Well, anyone that's building new should definitely do it.
Yeah. Which brings me
with that in mind.
Yeah. What do you think, would be any advice or anything, any lessons learned from your experience with this? What would you?
Yeah. A bunch. So I would definitely say the following: lay out your bakery first, see where the penetrations in the roof are and things like that, and what needs to go on the roof. And then lay everything out accordingly from that perspective. I think solar is a great solution. I think it's definitely smart to have somebody put your system on top of your roof versus paying for it yourself, because they have incentive to make sure it works. Because we're bakers. We don't operate solar panels or maintain them for that matter. So that would be my advice. But definitely the first one, the layout. Please lay out the bakery first. And if you have to do it in sections, you can. It's easier to connect later when you're connecting in sections. So if you're not sure about part of a building, that what it's going to look like when it's all said and done, probably wait a little before you pull the trigger on finishing that stuff. You don't have to wait to start the project.
Those are very specific pieces of advice. I love that. Is there anything else as we're wrapping up that you'd like to add to the conversation?
I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right way to do it. If you think about a factory of the future with automation and everything else that we have, AI progress, that's definitely should be the norm. And I think a lot of legislation will eventually push us for reusable energy. It's the right way to build a factory of the future. And the sooner you understand ins and outs, I believe the better off those bakeries are going to be.
Yeah. Soon it won't be just something that you have to take an initiative to do. It'll just be the way that things are.
Well, when they do the carbon tax, right? So play this back. Let's say they do the carbon tax. So they don't expect, if you have an existing bakery, for you to be green. It just doesn't work. You'll have to pay for that tax. And let's say everybody gets so much of it based on how much you consume in energy, right? But then, so let's say that I'm awarded $2 million worth of that kind of a tax, but I'm not using it. So I either use it up by using it or not using it. Therefore, I could sell it in the open market and get who buys it? Well, those that cannot retrofit. And therefore, it will be more expensive for them to operate, because that layer of expense will not exist for someone like me.
Well, I love hearing about the exciting things happening at Gold Crust. I think that it's so interesting to hear from your perspective. We work in more of, the DC space policy kind of things that you're talking about, but it makes it so much more real to talk to you, who's there in the bakery, figuring out how to make it all work. And yeah, so that's been so enlightening. And I do want to let our listeners know that this is going to be the first of many conversations that we're going to have around sustainability. And we really hope to continue the conversation with you, Alan, and with our other members to understand how we can help you all with your sustainability practices and also what we can learn from each other.
Yeah, I think it's great for the awareness. I think you guys are doing a great thing. And it's just better. And open ticket, you guys, come see us. We love showing the facility. Very proud of it.
Yes, brioche clusters on it.
Yes.
Yeah, well, other things too, but yes, brioche clusters.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Alan. This was great.
It's been my pleasure.
And I'll let our listeners know that they can share their feedback on this episode and more by emailing hello@americanbakers.org. We love hearing from you. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts: Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, or Ghana.